Hey guys, John here, back with another one here for you. And today I wanted to talk a little bit more about this whole idea of getting a job in the tech industry and sort of some of the competition you'll face and how to be able to compete and win in this sort of environment. And this sort of came up today from this comment I got from Hybrid Flu on a YouTube video of mine. And the comment said, "Today I saw a job post, junior front-end developer, 5+ years experience Angular 2. Recruiters make it hard." And what his point was is that for a front-end developer, having 5+ years of experience is sort of ridiculous. Like not a front-end developer, but a junior developer in anything, having 5+ years experience is sort of ridiculous because it's sort of, as my comment says, it's the chicken and the egg problem. How do you get that experience when you're a junior developer if you have to have 5+ years of experience in order to get hired? Now, of course, that's not every job that's out there. There's certainly ones out there where you don't need that, but even some of the easier ones out there still require a year of experience. And if you're just trying to first get into that sort of first job, it can be a little bit difficult. And so that's just one component of sort of the competition that's out there. And this sort of thing is what happens when you have an industry that gets more and more competitive and has more and more people trying to get into it, is that the requirements, the bar gets raised higher and higher just to get into it. And so you guys know I'm not making this up in terms of the competition and so forth. This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is sort of one of just the bodies out there where you can get some raw data. And this is the fastest growing occupations in the U.S. And you'll see on here, if you look at this, in terms of actual, they ordered these by the speed at which it's growing or the rate at which it's growing. Okay, so in that sense, software developers are 7th, 8th, maybe 10th or whatever on this list here. But and still, even at that, it's projected over the next 10 years to grow 30%, which is, again, this is the number of jobs. This is or people employed doing this. It's still nothing to sneeze at. But if you look at some of the actual raw numbers, right? So solar voltaic installers, whatever that is, they're projected to grow 104%, but that's from 11,000, right, people doing that to 23,000. So the numbers are still pretty small, whereas software developers have 831,000 people employed doing it and are projected to grow over 1 million. So add 255,000 jobs over the next 10 years. Whereas this one's only actually 11,000, even though the rate is much higher. So there's going to be a lot more of this available, a lot more people doing this. And then even still, if you look at some of the ones like home health aides and personal care aides, where these numbers are overall higher and the rates are higher and so forth, and then that sort of makes sense. Healthcare is a big sort of thing. But if you look at the median annual wage for those people, it's $23,000, $23,000. Whereas if you look at it for a software developer, it's $101,000, the median annual wage. So again, all that to just say that this is an industry that's growing. It's projected to continue to grow. And with that high of a wage, you're going to see more and more people trying to get it in and become more and more competitive. And so what you start to think about is, how can I get into it now? How can I compete with those people now? Or if you've been doing it a while, how am I going to be able to compete in the future and continue to have this job and be able to do this and make this living, especially with everything that's changing and all the new stuff that's coming out and so forth. And a lot of people talk about, you got to constantly be learning and you got to, constantly be getting involved in projects and doing all these things and all that stuff. And that's all true. You need to be doing all that. I've talked about that before, but that's sort of the standard common thing that's out there. And, I always try to give you something different, something unique that maybe other people aren't talking about, that maybe even other people would sort of scoff at. But in the reality of it, it's actually going to help you. And so in that vein, I was reading this article the other day over on Business Insider, and I came across this one. And I was sort of thinking about my own situation and just my experience having done this over 14, 15 years now. And this is one of those things that maybe people won't tell you, won't admit, but is absolutely true. And so one of the tips was work in an area where even a mediocre engineer can have stability. And so this person who wishes to remain anonymous, which I totally get, says find a comfortable niche in a company with steady revenue stream. Be good at really boring but important technology that 21-year-olds wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, and hang out and try to make it to 50 and then work as a middle manager. There are plenty of mediocre, even terrible software engineers working at older, not sexy companies that have excellent job security because the new college grads have no desire to work there and the companies actually make money. Now, I'm not saying be a terrible software engineer, even be mediocre or whatever. But what's happened in our industry a little bit is people have got so caught up in the Facebooks and the Googles and all these big sort of sexy new companies that they want to work for, that people sort of have forgotten that there are all of these sort of boring, non-sexy companies out there who are using sort of more established, well-known technologies and aren't sort of caught up in the constantly having to use the new thing that comes out or whatever. They're just fine using what's already available. And when you work for a company like that, you don't have to get so caught up in all of the whirlwind that's happening in the industry with all the new, right? Because you have a company who is doing something that the technology that's available is perfectly fine for them. And I sort of think of my own situation a little bit because, you know, I've talked about this before. I've sort of shrunk everything down to where I have one main client that I work with. I work with them on a monthly retainer basis, and so forth. And they are a WordPress company. They build a WordPress plugin based on PHP. Like, it's established, quote unquote, old known technology, right? There's zero sort of impetus for them to get into Node or Go or any of these other new things, or React or any of the stuff that's coming out. There's just not a big sort of push for that in what this particular company does. And so in that company, like, all of the volatility in the industry hasn't really affected me in that sense, because again, I'm working for an old, boring company that uses technology that all the kids fresh out of college are too good for, and all that sort of thing. So these companies exist, and you can get a job with one of these companies, and not everything has to be new, and cutting edge and all of that stuff. If you want to do that, fine, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I just wanted to give you sort of a quick example of this. So I went over to Indeed. This is sort of in the area around where I live. I live around Springfield, Missouri, which is a lot of rural areas. So there's not even a ton of jobs that are out there. But I found this one at this company called AlgaeCal Inc., right? And this is essentially looks like a supplement, bone health supplements that radically change lives or whatever. And you come down and you look at it, it's WordPress, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, jQuery, PHP, Twitter, Bootstrap, and Adobe Creative Suite. Like, the most boring, established, known technologies probably that are out there. I mean, you know, there's a lot of the kids coming out of college that wouldn't touch jQuery with a 10-foot pole, right? jQuery is dirty, or Bootstrap is, you know, so 2010 or whatever they would say, right? So these are just boring, established stuff that everybody would tell you that you can't get a job in this stuff is dying, you'll never be able to do this, blah, 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 blah. Yet, this company will pay you $75,000 to $90,000 a year to do that for them. Now, is that the most money you could make as a developer? No. But man, that's a damn good living doing something that is where you're not caught up in this whirlwind of all this new stuff and so forth. And there are plenty of these jobs out there that exist. You just have to know where to look. So that's why whenever someone tells me, hey, I've looked for, PHP jobs out there and I can't find any, almost inevitably when I dig it into it is they're looking for a startup, or they're looking, I want to work at Google and do PHP or whatever. That's probably not going to happen. That's not where those jobs are. And so if you want to be, again, in that environment of all this new cutting edge stuff, then yeah, you're going to have to maybe do something different. But if you just want a really good job that make a really good income using languages and things that you're familiar with, and you're not worried about getting caught up in all of the hoopla and so forth, and you want something that's going to be there for the next 10, 20, 30 years, these things are out there, and you can get involved in these and work for these companies. So I just wanted to sort of point that out to you, that there's a different way to look at this than what a lot of people out there are telling you. Be aggressive, learn, do all that sort of stuff, but also, be strategic and smart about how you look for jobs and what jobs you decide to apply for and all that sort of thing, because there are lots of different little niches that you can exploit and take advantage of if you know where to look. Now, of course, if PHP is your thing, I do have an entire curriculum over on Skillshare for you to go through to learn PHP, from my beginner's guide to PHP through object-oriented programming, and then a number of different project-based courses that are going to teach you things like a secure login script, a blogging application, forms, all that sort of thing. It's probably over 12, 15 hours worth of PHP training available over there for you. And you can get access to it for absolutely nothing. As a teacher, I can give you a 2-month free trial of Skillshare. Just go to johnmorrisonline.com/PHP, and that will trigger the 2-month free trial for you over on Skillshare. You can get in, take all the courses, and then cancel anytime before the 2 months is up, and you never pay a penny. So it's a good way to really hone your PHP skills and not have to invest a bunch of money to do it. Again, the link is johnmorrisonline.com/PHP. All right, guys, that'll do it for this one. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.